No way!
Japan!
Samurai swords to AI, Japan's shocking tech leap. Segment 1. Intriguing paradox. Imagine a nation where the pursuit of the perfect samurai sword, a weapon refined over centuries through obsessive trial and error, somehow became the blueprint for world-dominating artificial intelligence. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it's Japan's actual reality. And here's the wild part. Most people have no idea this connection even exists. Today, we're diving deep into the unexpected cultural threads, connecting ancient blades to tomorrow's tech. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Japan's dominance in AI and robotics isn't luck or accident. It's the inevitable outcome of a 1,000-year mindset that refuses to quit. But first, stick around to see the one forgotten tradition that literally changed manufacturing forever. It's way more fascinating than you'd think. Segment 2, From Blade to Byte, the Precision Legacy. Let's start where this all began. Centuries ago, in medieval Japan, something extraordinary happened. Master swordsmiths didn't just make weapons. They became obsessed with perfection. And I mean obsessed. A legendary swordsmith named Mesa Moon, whose work still commands prices in the millions today, didn't just forge swords. He fundamentally reimagined what perfect could mean. His blades were so well-balanced, so incredibly sharp, and so resistant to breaking that they became symbols of something bigger than warfare. They became symbols of mastery itself. But here's where it gets really interesting. The process of making a katana took months, sometimes a year or longer. A master swordsmith would take raw iron, fold it repeatedly, sometimes up to 16 times, refining the steel with each fold. Each fold wasn't just making the sword stronger, it was removing impurities. It was perfection through iteration, through failure and refinement. What's remarkable is that this wasn't seen as inefficient. It was seen as necessary. Japanese cultural values, deeply influenced by Zen Buddhism, emphasize that patience and discipline aren't obstacles. They're the path to excellence. This spirit became known as Monozukuri, literally the art of making things. But Monozukuri is far more than just manufacturing. It embodies a profound dedication to craftsmanship, a sincere attitude toward production with pride, skill and dedication, and an endless pursuit of innovation and perfection. When you talk to Japanese artisans today, whether they're working with ceramics, lacquerware, or technology, they'll tell you something fascinating. The maker becomes made by the work. Your character is refined through the discipline of making. Now, you might be wondering, how does medieval sword making connect to a nation leading the world in AI? Patience. That's answer number 1. But there's something even deeper that we're going to explore. Segment 3, Cultural Pillars, the values that shaped an empire. To understand Japan's tech explosion, you need to understand 3 cultural values that are basically encoded into the Japanese psyche. First, Kaizen, continuous improvement. After World War II, American quality expert W. Edwards Deming came to Japan. He brought statistical process control and something revolutionary. The idea that quality should be built into the process from the start, not inspected out at the end. But here's what shocked Deming. Japanese engineers didn't see this as a new idea. They recognized it as validation of their centuries-old philosophy. Kaizen literally means change for the better. But it's not about radical overhauls or tearing everything down. It's about small incremental improvements, made continuously by everyone, from the factory floor to the CEO. Think about it. If you improve something by just 1% every single day, you double in effectiveness in 70 days. Over a year, you've improved exponentially. That's the Kaizen mindset. Toyota embraced this completely. They developed what became known as the Toyota Production System, TPS, or lean manufacturing. The key insight was revolutionary. By eliminating waste, standardizing work, and encouraging every worker to identify improvements, you could produce with fewer resources. Fewer defects and less time while keeping quality up. MIT did a landmark study comparing Japanese and American auto manufacturers. Toyota required half the man-hours to build a car. Why? Because of Kaizen. Because continuous improvement was a culture, not a program. Second, Monozukuri, the spirit of making. Monozukuri is the soul of Japanese manufacturing. It's not just about producing things efficiently. It's about producing with pride, discipline, and an almost spiritual dedication to the craft. The legendary tea master Senno Rikyu captured this centuries ago with a poem. Though you wipe your hands and brush off the dust and dirt from the tea vessels, what's the use of all this fuss if the heart is still impure? This isn't poetry about tea ceremonies. It's about the fundamental truth of Japanese craftsmanship. External perfection can only come from inner cultivation. The craftsperson and the craft merge into one. When a Japanese company manufactures something, whether it's a car, a chip, or a robot, they're not just meeting specifications. They're pursuing an ideal form that exists in their minds. Even if the customer can't see the difference between meeting a spec at 99.9% and 99.95%, Japanese manufacturers will aim for 99.95%. This relentless precision is everywhere. Japanese companies are renowned globally for defect rates that seem almost impossible. Some achieve less than 0.01% defect rates. That's not luck, that's Monozukuri. Third, Gambaru, Gaman, Konjo, persistence through adversity. These three concepts translate roughly as never give up, endure hardship gracefully, and willpower respectively. Japan is a nation scarred by natural disasters, earthquakes, tsunamis. These values emerged from that harsh reality. A cultural emphasis on bouncing back, improving, and not accepting defeat. After the atomic bomb devastated Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan didn't just rebuild, it rebuilt better. With less resources, they had to be more efficient, more creative, more disciplined. This necessity forged a manufacturing culture that the world had never seen before. What makes Japan unique is that these aren't abstract philosophies taught in business schools. They're woven into the fabric of daily life, passed down from parents to children, from masters to apprentices, reinforced by every job, every school club, every cultural practice. Segment 4, the Industrial Revolution, a Japanese adaptation. Now let's fast forward to 1868. Japan's political system collapsed. The samurai class was abolished, and the country faced an existential crisis. Modernize, or be colonized by Western powers. The Meiji government made a stunning decision. They didn't try to copy the West wholesale. Instead, they adopted Western technology, while infusing it with Japanese cultural values. They sent students abroad, hired 3,000 foreign experts, and systematically learned everything. But they learned it their way. This is crucial. Japan didn't see Western technology as superior. They saw it as tools to be mastered and perfected through Japanese discipline and philosophy. The government directly invested in industry, railroads, communications. By 1900, Japan had gone from a feudal agrarian society to an industrial power. They had railroads crisscrossing the nation, a modern banking system, textile factories producing for global markets. But what's fascinating is how they manufactured. They applied Kaizen thinking to factory work. They emphasized quality and mass production. They refused to compete on speed alone. They competed on reliability and durability. This approach would later define how Toyota revolutionized the auto industry, and how Japan would come to dominate electronics, semiconductors, and consumer technology. Segment 5. From Transistors to Microchips, the Silent Revolution. In 1957, Sony did something that shocked the world. They released the TR-55, the first all-transistor radio. Japan was entering the global electronics market. What happened next was extraordinary. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, Japan's semiconductor companies, NEC, Toshiba, Hitachi, Fujitsu, systematically mastered transistor production, then integrated circuit design, then microchips. The Japanese government identified semiconductors as a strategic priority and funded the VLSI project in 1978. Major tech companies collaborated at a joint laboratory in Kanagawa, sharing research while keeping it secret from competitors. In just 4 years, they developed electron beam lithography, a revolutionary technology for chip fabrication. By the early 1980s, Japanese companies were dominating global semiconductor markets. NEC, Toshiba, and Hitachi produced DRAM chips with superior manufacturing processes and quality control. By 1988, Japan controlled 51% of the global semiconductor market. Why? Because they applied the same principles: continuous improvement, precision, quality over speed. They didn't just copy American manufacturing, they perfected it. And they didn't stop there. Sony revolutionized personal audio with the Walkman. Nintendo transformed gaming. Panasonic, Canon, Nikon. These companies became synonymous with reliability and innovation. Japanese manufacturers had proven something revolutionary. You could be both innovative and reliable at massive scale. Segment 6, Robots and AI, the inevitable next chapter. Japan's transition into robotics and AI wasn't a random leap. It was the natural evolution of their entire manufacturing philosophy. Honda began robotics research in 1986. They wanted to create a robot that could walk on 2 legs, like a human. This might sound simple, but it's extraordinarily complex. Balance, prediction, fine motor control. Honda spent nearly 15 years perfecting Asimo, releasing the first version in 2000. Asimo could walk, then run, then navigate stairs and uneven surfaces autonomously. It had 57 degrees of freedom in its body. It could recognize faces, understand voice commands, interact with humans. All of this required precision engineering and AI working together. Why did Honda pursue this seemingly impractical goal? Because perfecting humanoid robotics taught them principles that would transfer to every other application. How to integrate mechanical precision with intelligent response. How to make machines that work with humans, not just for humans. Today, Japan manufactures approximately 38% of the world's industrial robots. Companies like Fanuc produce robots of stunning precision for manufacturing, surgery, research. And these robots are infused with AI that learns, adapts, and improves. Japan's AI approach is also distinctly Japanese. In 2019, the government released the Social Principles of Human-Centric AI, built on 3 values: dignity, respecting human worth, diversity and inclusion, and sustainability. Japan isn't pursuing AI for maximum efficiency or profit. They're pursuing AI to solve social problems while maintaining human dignity. This is showing up in healthcare. Japanese startups are using AI for early cancer detection, influenza diagnosis, heart disease identification. But significantly, the final diagnosis remains with the doctor. The AI is a tool for human expertise, not a replacement in elderly care, critical for a nation with an aging population. Japan is developing robots that assist with daily living, maintain dignity, and prevent isolation. This isn't AI for profit, it's AI for purpose. Autonomous vehicles, smart manufacturing, medical diagnostics, across all these domains, Japanese companies are applying the same ancient principles: precision, continuous improvement, human respect, and an obsession with getting as close to perfection as humanly possible. Segment 7, the Unbroken Thread. Why this matters now. So why does this matter? Why is understanding this connection between katanas and AI important? Because Japan's success isn't mysterious. It's not based on luck or isolated genius. It's based on a coherent philosophy that's been refined for over 1,000 years. The swordsmith who spends months folding steel, The factory worker who suggests a 0.1% improvement in process efficiency. The robot engineer who spends years perfecting a walking algorithm. The AI researcher developing ethical frameworks. These are all expressions of the same cultural spirit. Monozukuri doesn't just describe manufacturing. It describes a way of seeing the world as something that can always be improved, refined, and elevated toward perfection. Here's what's crucial for 2025 and beyond. As AI becomes more powerful and more integrated into society, the question of how we develop AI matters as much as what we develop. Many nations are racing to build the biggest, fastest AI. Japan is racing to build the most trustworthy, most ethical, most human-centered AI. While some tech companies are moving fast and breaking things, Japan is applying the lessons of Monozukuri. Move deliberately, refine relentlessly, involve everyone in improvement, and never sacrifice quality for speed. That doesn't mean Japan will dominate AI the way it dominated semiconductors. The technology landscape is different. Competition is global, and other nations have massive resources. But it does mean that Japan's approach to AI will likely influence global standards. Just as the Toyota production system influenced manufacturing worldwide. Segment 8. Looking ahead. The future is now. Here's the question that brought us to this video. How will Japan's blend of ancient wisdom and relentless innovation continue to shape the technological landscape of 2025 and beyond? Japan is developing the next generation of AI robots designed for practical applications. Nursing care, disaster response, space exploration. The government is investing heavily in semiconductor manufacturing to regain leadership. Research institutions are advancing quantum computing, autonomous systems, and AI safety simultaneously. And importantly, Japanese companies are leading conversations about ethical AI, human-centered technology, and the responsible development of powerful systems. The world is watching. Some of the most influential guidelines for responsible AI development come from Japan. The values of Kaizen, Monozukuri, and human dignity aren't quaint historical concepts. They're becoming strategic advantages in a world learning to be careful with technology. So the next time you use a Japanese product, whether it's a camera that just works, a robot that operates with stunning precision, or AI that diagnoses your medical condition with remarkable accuracy, remember, you're experiencing the culmination of a 1,000-year obsession with perfection, continuous improvement, and respect for the craft. That's not accidental. That's destiny shaped by culture. Otro. What aspect of Japan's philosophy do you think will be most important as AI becomes more powerful? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to understand more about how ancient cultural traditions shape modern innovation, subscribe to the channel. We explore these unexpected connections that most people completely miss. Thanks for watching No Way Japan, where we reveal the surprising and fascinating sides of innovation, culture, and tradition. See you next time.